It's our action that speaks the loudest. Though we the sweet scientists, they ain't nothing sweet about us.
What's up, my brother? How you?
Oh, man,
Good?
appreciate you taking the time.
What's happening?
Great,
Peace.
man.
What's happening?
You're a New York Times bestseller, you know, TV, radio personality, but, you know, I'm honored to sit and talk to you because you kind of inspired me to crack the mic, to do what I do as well, because I followed your journey from first time you started, you know, hitting these airwaves with Wendy years ago. So, but you come from humble beginnings, you know what I mean? Like working at a station down there, and grew up in Moncks Corner, right?
Moncks Corner, South Carolina. I was born in Charleston, so I started my radio career in Charleston because Moncks Corner is like a really, really small town. Like we don't have any radio stations. If we do, I don't know about them. But I worked in the neighboring town that I was born in, Charleston, South Carolina. So I started off as an intern in 1998, you know. Wow. And I think I first cracked the mic maybe in like 99, late 99.
So obviously, I mean, you stumbled across that from like getting into trouble first and trying to, I guess, find yourself after you was released from jail. I mean, I'm not even getting into that. What made you feel like you can do this?
I really didn't have any other choice, to be totally honest with you. You know, I didn't go to college. Right. So being that I didn't go to college, radio was the most positive thing I had ever done. Like it was the job that I had that felt like a career. Because I had worked at Taco Bell, I worked at a warehouse, I worked at a flower garden, I did telemarketing, I worked at, you know, a demo in the mall, that clothing store, but like when I was around radio.
I think you look familiar. I think you sized I think you got my size one time. Yeah.
When I was doing radio, you know, it felt like a career. Like it felt way bigger than me. You know what I'm saying? All those other jobs are just like, yo, you're just happy to have a job, happy to be getting a little check. But when you're in that radio station and you see the microphones and you're in this studio and you're around these people who went to school for this, like you just feel like you're a part of something that's bigger than you. And
but
like, that's what it was for me.
At what point did you realize, like, wait a minute, I can go far with this? It's not just like me being a part of something. I could be that something.
I realized that when I was doing overnights at Z93 Jams. You know what I'm saying? Like that was 99, and I'd be on the air from like 12 midnight to 5 in the morning, and I just would go down these rabbit holes of listening to different radio personalities. So I'd be listening to like, you know, Angie Martinez, you know, Big Tigger, Star and Buck, you know, we already had like Tom Joyner and Doug Banks syndicated in the market, so I would hear them. So in my mind, I was like, yo, if I'm gonna do radio, I want to do it like on that level. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to be just a jock, you know, sitting in somebody's town doing the time and temperature and announcing what the new song is. I said, if I'm gonna do radio, I want to be a super jock.
Right.
And so like that bug bit me early, like literally like in the first year of me being on the radio.
Wow. So my family's from South Carolina too. So I know it's a lot slower down there. So was it your intentions? Like only place I could really make it is New York.
That's interesting because when you come from somewhere, you don't look at it as slow.
I know.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like for me being from South Carolina, being from Charleston, I didn't look at it as slow because to me, I was kind of overachieving anyway because like I said, I didn't go to college. Like I didn't go to school for any of this. You know, I tried to go to technical school at one point, you know, because everybody that had a full-time gig on the radio had went to school and they had some sort of degree. So in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, that's what I got to do to get a full-time gig, you know. But as I'm sitting in the classroom, I'm like, why am I here? You know what I'm saying? I need to be at the radio station. I got a job. All these kids that are in here now, they want to be in the position I'm in. So why am I here? I should be at the radio station soaking all that in. So for me, I never felt like it was slow, but I think the bug for New York hit me just by like studying the game and realizing that the #1 radio market was New York, and like a lot of the personalities that I gravitated towards that I used to see doing things outside of radio were in New York, whether it was Howard Stern, whether it was, you know, Star and Buck, like who I mentioned earlier, whether it was, you know, Funk Flex, Angie, any of them. Like all of those people were from New York, you know? So I was like, okay, New York must be the Mecca, Wendy Williams, you know what I mean? I'm like, New York is where you want to be if you're going to do radio. Like that seemed like the number one place to play in the league if you're going to play anywhere.
Right, that's funny. We can relate to kind of what you just said as far as like us getting an opportunity on Sirius XM without the schooling. So I definitely feel you on that. Now, as far as Wendy, do you feel like forever indebted to her because she gave you that first opportunity and kind of showcased you to the big market like New York?
No. I don't feel forever indebted to her. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, there's definitely a sense of gratitude, you know what I mean? But I think like even not some things are bigger than you, and they don't have anything to do with you. Sure. Like clearly, you know, God touched, you know, her husband and touched her to say, you know, let's make this happen for this young man, you know, put him in position. But I mean,
you created your own path.
I created my own path. You know what I'm saying? And like at the end of the day, like everything happens for a reason, and people come into your life for those reasons, those seasons, and sometimes for a lifetime. That definitely wasn't a lifetime at all. You know, that was a season and some reasons. So I don't feel forever indebted, but I do feel a sense of gratitude for anybody that's helped me along my journey and helped put me in certain positions, because everybody plays a part. Everybody's played a role, whether it was Mike Love at the Big DM in Columbia, South Carolina. When he hired me when I had just gotten fired from Hot 98.9 in Charleston. I didn't know what to do after I got fired from Hot 98.9 in Charleston, because all I knew was Charleston radio. I didn't even know you could go do radio in other markets. So when Mike Love hired me to work at the Big DM in Columbia, South Carolina, he just opened my mind up to, oh, I can go work in other markets. Like this radio thing isn't something that's just confined to the city that I'm in. Or like, you know, somebody like George Cook, who I used to work for at Hot 98.9. He's the operations manager at K104 in Dallas. Like he put it in my head. He said, yo, I want you to do a morning show at night, because I used to do Monday through Friday, 7 to midnight on Hot 98.9. He's like, I want you to do a morning show at night. So he planted that seed for me to one day do morning. So I'm grateful for like a lot of different people that I've met in my journey. You know?
A morning show at night. I guess it's just safe to be indebted to God, because God is going to plant you before a whole bunch of people. There's going to be a whole bunch of seeds that get you to where you are
Absolutely.
today.
And he's going to always put people around you that can help you get to the level that he wants you to be at. You know what I'm saying? Everybody plays a position. That's why I treat everybody with respect. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, like the custodian gets just as much respect as the CEO, because you don't know what role people are playing in your life at any given moment.
You know, I can attest to that, because I did one of my jobs was, you know, I do acting sometimes, and I did a gig on your show, you know, a few years ago, 105.1, you know, one of the call-in segments or whatever. And we were in the dressing, I guess the lobby or whatever, and you came out, you introduced yourself like I don't know you, you know, and we just talking regular, and I'm like, this dude is so humble. I'm like, do you feel like a celebrity?
No, I don't even know what that feels like, to be honest with you. And I've seen people play themselves acting like one, you know, and I've told this story before. I remember being in the Bahamas like 8 years ago, and, you know, it was for my man Mike Kaiser's birthday weekend or something like that. And, like, you know, and I'll say his name now, Terrence J. Terrence is my man, you know, and Terrence is a totally different person than he was 8 years ago. But this is when Terrence first got his movie, Think Like a Man, and, you know, he was coming off the 106 and Park success, and I remember we was all sitting around a pool, and he was like, I'm gonna order drinks for everybody. So he ordered the drinks, and then when the waitress came over, the waitress was like, you know, hey, I need your card. And he was like, you're ruining my moment.
What?
And I was like, you know what I'm saying? He probably don't even remember that, but I remember. So in my mind, I was like, nah, that's some dickhead shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not how celebrity, I hope that's not how celebrity is supposed to be, you know what I mean? But I think, you know, he was just learning his role and his position in this industry and this business. And I think that can happen sometimes. Like,
but sometimes people, I think, even people that have been involved in it for a long time still do it. You know, I recently heard, it's funny, I'm gonna bring this up now, because I recently heard it a couple of days ago. It's actually somebody that's on, I guess, a station that's a competitor to you guys. Peter Rosenberg was traveling to South Jersey to do some sort of live broadcast, some sports for the ESPN thing that he does. And he told the people that booked the car to tell the driver not to speak to the talent on a 2-hour drive, not to speak to him. So that was insane to me, because I thought about that now, because I'm like, all right, this dude's had success for a long time and still at that level. I just wanted to share that with you.
Yeah, I'm the complete opposite. Like, I mean, of course, sometimes you don't feel like talking, but I like talking to people.
You might do that, and you ain't.
Nah, man, you never know.
That's a 2-hour car ride. So essentially, your livelihood is in this man's hands for 2 hours.
You better become friends.
To know a little bit of something about him.
Yeah, I want to know a little something. I want to at least make him feel comfortable. Like, you know, we make some quick small talk in the beginning, like something.
Cool.
I'm not gonna just drive. I'm not gonna ride for 2 hours with nothing to say. Like, nah, that's ridiculous.
I want to touch on boxing for a minute, right? Because we feel like pop culture. Well, hip hop is pop culture, right? I mean, it's the biggest genre in the world, right? There's no question about that. How important is it for the sport in itself, the fighters, the personalities in the sport, you know, to attach themselves to pop culture in order to be popular?
I think they should do it if it's organic.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I like somebody like Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia is a young kid. He got like 1 million followers on social media. He clearly is, you know, he knows of the culture, you know what I'm saying? Like he's a part of the culture, you know? If it's organic and like he can organically speak to it, do it. You know what I'm saying? But don't
stage it.
Don't stage it. That's when it looks whack. That's when it looks corny. You know, we live in this age of transparency where people can see through you anyway.
Right.
So they know when you on some BS or when they know you fronting.
Right.
Like, you know, if they know you're not being authentic, they're not gonna gravitate towards you anyway. So like, only do it. Only be a part of it if that's really what it is. If that's the type of time you want.
But you know, like a lot of these young fighters are kind of almost influenced to become popular, right? Guys like Adrian Broner, I use him as an example, right? He's one of the most American popular fighters, even though he has a few losses. He's never won the big fight, but because of his antics on social media, some of the crazy things he does, puts him in that level where he still gets a Pacquiao fight, right, coming up. So how is it? It would be hard for a young fighter to say, man, that's working for him. Let me go do something ignorant on the internet. Let me do something stupid when I'm almost finished, because you got guys like Triple G, who's well-spoken, do nothing ignorant, but they get praised for being gentlemen. But people from our culture have to be ignorant in order to be popular.
Well, Triple G's only problem is that he don't speak English.
Right.
Well.
True.
You know what I'm saying? If he spoke English well, I think everybody would rock with Triple G. Right. I mean, not on the level of, like I said all the time, if Adrian Broner could actually box, if Adrian Broner was a better boxer, he'd be the biggest star in boxing and it wouldn't even be close, because he'd be the guy that people love to hate. But you know, the thing with Broner is that's really him. Right. Like, he's not pretending.
No,
like we say those are antics, but that's really AB. If you've ever been around AB and just had a conversation with AB, you know AB ain't putting on no fronts. That's really who he is. Only thing I want from AB is AB to be a better boxer. Like, go out there and, you know, put in that work. Because there was one time where they was talking about AB being the next Floyd Mayweather. You know, and then it started getting shaky around that, you know, that Paulie, it was the fight with Paulie, Malignaggi.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He won that by decision. But then the next fight, if I'm not mistaken, was the Madonna fight.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's when he got rocked.
He ran into his trouble as he went up in weight. So he was a superstar, 3-division champ before Paulie Malignaggi.
Right.
You know, that made him a 4-division champ. So I think, you know, he probably stepped out of his boundaries at the time, but he's still a great fighter, I believe.
I think he still has a lot left in the tank. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, just as far as him and the culture, like, that's really AB. AB listens to hip hop. AB raps. You know, he's a young kid. He's a young brother from Ohio.
What do you think about his rap? I think he's pretty good. I think he's not trash like other guys who try.
I don't remember. Have I heard AB rap?
Well, it's not like
I know he raps, but I don't know if I've ever heard his music. Like,
he didn't put records out that hit the charts or something.
Yeah,
sometimes
he sent us a record, and you know, I guess he heard.
Sometimes putting it in social media is almost like putting it out.
I haven't heard it. I haven't heard no AB music.
So it's not really out if he hasn't heard it.
Well, speaking about being real, because I think you're a real person. I think you're a candid person. I think you're a person who shows your vulnerability. Right. Were you always like that, or is it because you're in radio and you realize, you know what, I might as well be, because they're delving into my private life anyway?
No, I've always been like that. I've always been like that because, like, growing up in the hood, that's all you have is your experiences at the end of the day. So it's just like, if you're sitting around with your homeboy, you're sitting around with your homegirls, you're talking about what has happened in your life that day, or things that have happened to you historically in your life, or especially if you're growing up with people that you grew up around your whole life. You're like, yo, remember when such and such that? Like, you're having those conversations, you know what I'm saying? So for me, it was never, that was the easiest part of doing radio. You know, I've always been a transparent person.
There's so much, you know, bravado in the hood, though. You know, like me, I grew up with a certain lifestyle where I couldn't show my insecurities. You know, on the street, you know, I had a certain reputation. I couldn't tell people I was scared, you know, or feared anything. So, but you're just so open to the public.
Yeah, I mean, I think, honestly, I've always been transparent, but I think over, like, the past year and some change, you know, going to therapy has probably made me what you would call more vulnerable, only because, like, it's one thing to tell a story, but it's another to actually tell the feeling behind that story. You know what I'm saying? Like, to really unpack a story. Like, I can tell you anything, but to tell you how that story made me feel, or me considering how it made somebody else feel that was involved with the story. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, to me, that's just the easiest thing to be. Like, I really honestly feel like the easiest thing to be in the world is yourself. Like,
I mean, that's probably a big reason why you are where you are, you know, you being yourself. But it's funny you brought that up, therapy, because in the hood, I grew up in Brooklyn as well with him, and it's almost taboo, like he said, to be vulnerable, but to take it that far, like where you need to talk to somebody, because right away people label you, this dude crazy, out of his mind. But, you know, anxiety is one of the things that I've suffered from for a long time. The first time I actually was able to say, okay, maybe I do need to talk to somebody because I worry about everything. My kids, you know, sharp pain, I think it's cancer or whatever, flights. So you're the reason why I even considered talking to somebody about anxiety. So I want to thank you for that.
All love.
And what was there a moment that made you feel like, all right, enough? Somebody has to give me some feedback on how to control this, like how to channel this energy to something else. What was that moment?
Last year, and it actually came from a moment of peace. You know, it came from me being on vacation, like I will be next week, but I was on vacation in my favorite spot in Anguilla. I love Grenada too, though. Salute to Grenada. I went to Grenada for New Year's Eve. But I was in Anguilla, and I was sitting around the pool. And I was watching my family and my friends and everybody just having a good time. And I just had like this real moment of peace, like this moment of serenity. And I was like, yo, how can I feel like this all the time? And I had been flirting with the idea of therapy for a few years. And then, you know, my wife finally was like, yo, just go. Like, what are you waiting on? Just go. So I started going.
Do you feel like God gave you this platform so that you can be an advocate for mental illness?
That's a great question, man. I don't know. And the reason I say I don't know is because I didn't set out to be an advocate for mental illness to begin with. Right. You know, like it literally was just me going to therapy and keeping a journal of everything that I was experiencing in therapy. So I would write down things that gave me anxiety, things that historically gave me anxiety, things that give me anxiety now. Then I started like just unpacking like trauma from things that happened to me when I was young, and like, you know, issues with my father, like that I didn't even really know I had, you know what I mean? Stuff that I had suppressed, you know, but they started to bubble to the surface. So I was just keeping a journal of all of this stuff. And then like, it turned into the pages of these books. You know, of course you got your book publisher after you have a successful first book. They're like, oh, we would love to get a second book from you. And it's like, well, I've been, you know, playing with this idea of, you know, talking about my anxiety. So when I started showing them the pages, they was loving it. And then that's when they was like, you know what, this is really a book about mental health, because you're talking about PTSD and you're talking about, you know, trauma and all these other things. And they was like, you know, won't we reach out to a doctor and have a doctor, you know, give these clinical correlations to everything that you're talking about? Because what I was trying to do with the book was basically translate what my therapist was telling me, but it wasn't coming out right as far as diagnosis, having a diagnosis. So it was, what she enabled me to do was just explain what I was feeling better. But that's why I brought in Dr. Ish to give these clinical correlations so it can have an expert opinion in there as well. So to answer your question, like I didn't set out to be a mental health advocate. I was just sharing my experiences. And like you said, you like, oh, I influenced you to want to go to therapy, and that's what I've been getting a lot of, you know what I'm saying? So I guess, yeah, if you, all the way answer your question, I guess, this is what God, this is what God wants from me right now.
Maybe agenda changes throughout, like amongst your evolution, you know, you have a different agenda eventually. Do you feel that like writing the book was actual therapy in itself, like letting out your experiences?
I thought it was. I mean, because my first book, Black Privilege, you know what I'm saying? I was telling my story, you know, but like I said, that's all I was doing. I was telling the story, you know, and just talking about the evolution of me as a man, you know, but now being 40 years old and, you know, being in the position that I'm in, it's like, it really started to get overwhelming over the past year and some change, you know what I'm saying? So that's like, that made me like just peel back the layers of just telling my story, and the first book wasn't as therapeutic as this one was.
Yeah, so what is Shook Ones pretty much about?
Shook One is just about my history dealing with anxiety. It's more, if Black Privilege was more me up until this point, Shook One is me at this point, and also reflecting on the first 40 years of my life. You know what I'm saying? Like things that I thought I had dealt with, I haven't dealt with. You know what I'm saying? And you realize that through therapy. You know what I'm saying? And it gives you a better handle on, you know, the man you you are. Like sometimes when you really start doing the work and you start going to therapy and you step back and you start looking at the things that happened to you when you was young and things that you used to do when you was young and a lot of the bullshit that we normalize that really isn't normal at all. When you step outside of that and you really start looking at it and unpacking it and peeling back those layers, like it really just gives you a totally different perspective of who you are right now. Because I mean, honestly, I thought I knew exactly who I was until I started like going to therapy.
I think it's a forever learning journey. But why that name Shook One? Is that, because you could have named it anything, you know, referring to what you're going through. Is that like a hip-hop correlation?
Yeah, because, you know, one of my principles in my first book and one of the principles I live by is live your truth. So nobody can use your truth against you. And, you know, growing up, that term Shook One was always
1995.
Yeah, and it was always a bad term. Like, you didn't want to be a shook one. You couldn't be considered a shook one. If you was considered a shook one, you know, you was pussy.
Mob deep.
Yeah, you was
Nobody called themselves a shook one.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
So you always would call the person that you thought was
shook,
like the scared individual. But I mean, if we being honest, all of us are shook. You know what I'm saying? We just suppress it and we walk around macho with our chest out, acting all gangster and tough. But most of the time, that's a front. You know what I mean? And we gotta be gangster and tough because it's a means of survival.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because if people know you shook, then you fooled.
Right.
So it's just like, for me, I was just owning that label. Like, yo, shook one. It's fine to be a shook one. You know what I'm saying? At first, I was just gonna call it shook, but I'm like, nah, let's keep it all the way hip hop.
Right. Yeah,
We're gonna call it shook
they
one.
can't use that.
And then the subtitle is Anxiety Playing Tricks on Me, which is a play off the Ghetto Boys, My Mind Playing Tricks on Me. Because if you go back and listen to that record, all of those brothers was dealing with anxiety. Like everything from the hallucinations when Bushwick Bill was beating on the concrete thinking he was fighting somebody. Like all of that, like everything Willie D was going through, Scarface, all of that was nothing but anxiety.
You know, like in boxing, most of the fighters typically come from communities that rappers, hip hop artists come to. You know what I mean? And only difference is that fighters have to actually be really good to make it to a certain level. You know, a lot of these rappers aren't. So why are they making it? How?
You know, that's a great question, man. And I say all the time, like, we say that about certain artists, right? Because I be feeling that same way. I be like, oh, such and such is whack.
Right.
Every rapper that has some sort of success has some sort of quality that can't be mimicked and only they can do. You know what I'm saying? Like you listen to somebody like, I give it like Lil Baby, right? A lot of people will say like Lil Baby's a mumble rapper. Until you actually listen to his music and you understand like the melody, you know what I'm saying, or the wordplay. Like he know how to make a song, you know what I'm saying? Drip Too Hard is a great record. You know, you listen to somebody like the Migos. You know what I'm saying? The Migos know how to make great records. They have great melodies. It's just something that, you know, makes you gravitate towards the music. It's fun. It's like, but then you got the hardcore spitters who can't make records. So that's a gift within itself to be able to make a record.
Yeah, but be honest, like I mean, you know the core of hip hop, right? You grew up in that golden era, as they say, like the '90s. You know.
I also grew up down south, though.
Right.
So my ear is different. You know what I'm saying? I used to like Project Pat just as much as I like Jay-Z. You know what I'm saying? I used to like.
That's a wrong ear right there.
But Project Pat was dope. I used to like Trick Daddy. Like I grew up off Crime Mob and
You ever try to write a rap though?
Yeah.
It's very difficult, right, to be that witty and put words together, right?
And I thought I was nice until my man Dr. Robert Evans told me I sucked, which was great. You know what I mean? Because sometimes you got to tell people fuck your dreams, especially when it's not your dream. Like the only reason I wanted to rap is because the people in the hood who I saw that looked like me that was successful were usually rappers. When you turn on TV, you see rappers, you see athletes. I'm 5'6", so I wasn't gonna play no ball. You know what I mean? And I was too bad to ever play football or anything in school, so I decided to write rhymes. You know?
I think it's more than one gift. I think you, like you said, the hardcore spitters. And then you need a whole team because you need somebody who will write a chorus. Maybe you don't know how to flow. Maybe your melody is not good. You know, I think it takes a whole team to put a whole good album together.
Think about how nice Cannabis was.
Right.
Cannabis was phenomenal. When I heard Cannabis, I thought that was the dopest rap I ever heard in my life. Till his album dropped. That Patriots music, this shit is whack.
I mean, we still have writers that were able to do both. You know, guys like Jay-Z, you know, Nas,
Rand Breed. Those
are
the gifted, but Kanye had ghostwriters. But I mean, but he's still a gifted person because he can make beats and stuff like that and come up with song concepts. So that right there is a gift within itself. Like, yo, the problem now is that we can't tell the gifted rappers from the rappers who just work their ass off and would not take no for an answer. Like Jay-Z is gifted.
Yeah, that's the point. So how do we give people the credit they deserve? Like there are artists out there that won't get the opportunities that Kodak Black is getting, or some of these artists, and they are skilled. So, and sometimes it dumbs their skills down and their records. Like, nah, man, this thing is working. I gotta make this, because you know. So you move away from what's true to you.
Learn to make a record. Like even you mentioned Kodak Black. I've always liked Kodak Black. Why? Because he can actually rap. Now I know that he may come off as a mumble rapper, but if Kodak enunciated his words a little better, which will probably never happen because he's from Florida, and I still say straight, street, and strong. So he's from Florida, so he talk how he talk, scrimp. You know what I'm saying? But if he enunciated his words a little bit better, and had just a little bit better delivery, meaning that he was in pocket more on his beats, we'd be having a totally different conversation about Kodak Black. Because if you listen to his music, Kodak be actually rapping about things that have socially redeeming value. He be rapping about shit that has substance, but you gotta really listen to his music to know that.
Right. I mean, is it substance? I mean, now like being socially aware, it almost seems like it's like a fad, like a trend right now. How do you know who really cares about the community and who just wants to do it for IG?
You don't. That's just the world that we navigating in. You know what I'm saying? The problem with social media is everything looks like a performance. Everything. Like you don't know what's sincere, you don't know what's genuine anymore. Like everything looks like a performance. Like somebody can get online and be crying now about somebody passing away and you'll be like, ah, man, he just putting on for the brand. You know what I'm saying? Like you just really,
it's hard to tell.
You really don't know. So I mean, that's just honestly like, that's just something that we're all learning to navigate through. And I don't think we'll ever get to that point where we know who's being sincere anymore.
Right. So you being a radio host, is there some kind of middle ground of respect? Because, okay, you might feel like somebody's not talented, but look, we could say things about Richard Pryor. People say Richard Pryor had people writing his jokes, but he delivered it.
Yeah,
you know, and maybe whoever was writing his jokes wouldn't have delivered it as well as him. So is there some middle ground of respect for all artists or all entertainers?
I think we all, I think we know the difference between like Drake, right? Drake's very talented. You know, he writes his own stuff. He can deliver his. I'm not even gonna use Drake. I'm gonna say Kanye. Kanye is Kanye is a guy who lets you know he lets other people write his rhymes. You know what I'm saying? Or Diddy. Dr. Dre, any of those, we know other people write their rhymes. We don't put them in the same category as Jay, Scarface, Andre 3000, Killer Mike, Nas, or we don't put them in that. We don't put them in that category. Like it's a difference. We know the difference between those guys that are really gifted, can rap and do it all, and the people who can just deliver. So
but that rule you said earlier might apply to that. Be using the truth where they can't use it against you. So those artists say, yeah, if you say it early, then there's no hiding behind it.
I don't mind that with rap as much as other people, only because so many other genres of music do it.
Right.
Whether it's R&B, whether it's rock and roll. Like you always have songwriters who write good records for artists. I think that if anything, that helps hip hop to continue to grow. That stretches the genre out. You know what I'm saying? Like I think that's why a lot of our favorite rappers historically burnt out because they was trying to do it all.
And Richard Pryor's not the only one. A lot of comedians, people write.
I just named one of the most famous ones. You know.
Have you ever regretted anything that you've said over the airwave? And if so, what was it?
A lot of stuff, man.
I mean, something like that really stands out.
I regretted playing Floyd Mayweather reading. You know what I'm saying? I regretted that only because like it served no purpose. Like I was doing it for all the wrong reasons. I was doing it for reasons that I always tell myself I'm not going to do things. You know what I'm saying? I always say like I don't chase ratings. I don't do things just for the attention, just for the hype of it. The clout. But in that moment, I did.
And it got a lot of attention. It went viral.
It got a lot of attention, and it didn't feel good.
Worth it.
Nah, and nobody checked me about it. Like I didn't get no trouble from my job. Ain't none of Floyd's people pressed me. I just didn't feel good about that. You know what I'm saying?
You think that was a change in your, maybe a point in your life where you were changing?
No, because I knew I shouldn't have did it anyway. Like I never had a reason for doing it. Like I literally told everybody, you can go back and listen to the audio. I'm like, he got a fight to sell, we got a fight to sell. I don't give a damn. I'm trying to get these numbers. Like it was just some dickhead shit. You know what I'm saying? Like it didn't serve a greater purpose. Like I like.
It was funny.
It was.
but
it was.
But I get your point.
It didn't serve a greater purpose. You know.
I didn't like it.
Well, because you're Floyd's biggest fan, like #1 fan. Of course you're not gonna lie. I laughed my ass off, but at the end of the day, it really didn't accomplish anything. But,
Nah,
but hurt him.
and not even really just hurting him. Like, you don't see the impact that it has on other people because other people dealt with illiteracy issues too. It's other people. I didn't realize that many people couldn't read.
I thought it was too real of an issue. I thought it was
100%.
too real of an issue, and that's about it.
100%. And I could have approached it in a totally different way if I was really going to do that. You know what I'm saying?
And still made it funny.
Maybe, but or I could have just played the role like what I wish I would have done is like, look, man, I know there's a lot of people out there that can't read, and this is why money isn't everything. Like, you know, I don't know. This is a different way I could have approached it. Even like comments I made, you know, a few years ago discussing rape culture. You know what I'm saying? Like I regret that. You know what I'm saying? Only because, once again, not understanding the impact of the words. Like, I thought my intentions were pure. My intentions were actually pure. In that situation, like, I was really, you know, wanting to talk about something I think all men should be talking about. We should be talking about how, you know, historically, we haven't been the best to our women. You know what I mean? We should talk about, we've watched culture shift over the past 10 years. Like the way we used to, the way the music used to be, the way movies used to be, the way we used to even communicate with women, all of that type of stuff has totally changed, and it should have. That's the beauty of the Me Too Times Up movement. It's forcing like a day of reckoning for all men. So that's what I thought. That's what I thought I was doing.
Do you feel like you're responsible for doing your part, being that you have such a big voice?
Yeah, and I feel like I got to do my part just because I'm a man on this planet. You know what I'm saying? Even if I didn't have the platform, even if I did not have the platform, and I did not do radio, I didn't do podcasts, I didn't have a voice at all. If I was just a man navigating my way through this life, I would definitely want to unlearn a lot of the bullshit that I learned because it don't serve me no purpose anymore. And it definitely don't serve our women any purpose. You know what I'm saying? I got 3 daughters now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
What advice would you give yourself if you could go back to Monk's Corner at, let's say, a 17-year-old Charlamagne? What would be something you would say to yourself today's?
You know what? I don't think I would change anything. You know what I'm saying? The only thing I would tell my 17-year-old self is, like, yo, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. Don't be afraid to. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of times I might have made a mistake here, made a mistake there, and thought it was the end of the world. You know what I mean? And didn't know any better. You know, I've had moments where I thought I was suicidal. You know what I'm saying? Where people had to talk me off the ledge. You know what I mean? Like I remember when I was doing youth ministry at Muhammad Mosque number 38 in Columbia, South Carolina, and I was really living righteous. No drinking, no smoking, no nothing. And you know, like me and my boy DJ Frosty, we ended up having like a menage a trois with these 2 young ladies. You know what I'm saying? And like that shit made me feel like I was going to hell. Like, I'm being totally honest. Like I felt like I was going to hell. I was like, oh my God, like I'm not doing what you know God wants me to do, and yada yada. Like so in my mind, I was like, I don't deserve to live. And at the time, I was trying to like really be a righteous person because I was trying to get back with my girl, you know what I'm saying, who's my now wife. But at the time, I was trying to get back with my girl, and that's why I was talking about Offset earlier, and I'm like, yo, you can't, if you cheat and you a piece of shit, you can't beg for your girl back until you change your ways, you know what I'm saying? You got to make the conscious decision, and you can't lie to the universe. God knows whether or not you really making this change. So if you praying to get your girl back, you know what I'm saying, you better be moving the way God wants you to move and the way she wants you to move, because God's watching you. You think God's going to bless you by giving you your girl back if he know that you bullshitting him? So it's just like for me during that whole time, like I was really trying to be a righteous man for my woman, and I felt like I fell short, and I wanted to off myself. You know what I'm saying? Like I remember, like my dad talked me off the ledge. My dad literally drove up from Monk's Corner to Columbia, and Monk's Corner is like an hour and a half away from Columbia. And when I told him what happened, he looked at me and he said, "So you mean to tell me I drove an hour and a half because you got some pussy and had some drinks?" He said, "Well, where the goddamn look into women at? Because now you got me all stressed the fuck out." And for whatever reason, that just put everything in perspective for me. It was just like a moment of clarity, like sometimes we fall short. You know what I'm saying? So I would just tell my younger self, all the time. So I would just tell my younger self, don't be afraid to make mistakes. You're going to make a lot of them.
No, but when you do make these mistakes, do you feel like the society is forgiving when you make these mistakes?
Not now. Not in this
Not
era.
nowadays, right?
No.
It used to be.
This
But
social media era.
I've been saying for years, this generation would never let Malcolm Little become Malcolm X.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like Maya Angelou, they would never be accepting all that dope literature and those dope words she put out back in the day if they knew that she used to be a madam. You know what I mean? Like they just wouldn't take certain people serious in this era based off their past, which is so stupid to me because what's the point of growth and evolution if we're not going to acknowledge people's growth and evolution? Like, like you know, even if you look at the situation with Kevin Hart recently and he made homophobic comments and were those comments terrible? Yeah. But was society totally different 10 years ago? Absolutely. Like you can go, like I said, go listen to some of your favorite music, some of your favorite movies. Like we used to throw those slurs around like it was nothing. A lot of times we would throw those slurs around and we weren't even referencing gay people. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like he made the mistake of doing that 10 years ago. The fact you had to go back 10 years to dig that up should tell you he's in a totally different space
If
now.
time was different back then, was that really a mistake back then? You get what I'm saying? If the times were different back then and it was commonplace to say certain things, can you really call that a mistake back then? Now
It
it's
wasn't a mistake, it was just the norm.
Right.
It wasn't
now
normal.
now it seems, oh, you can call that a mistake if you do that now.
Yeah. It wasn't normal.
We can't go back and say.
Yeah, I hate retroactive punishments. I can't stand it. But we can't sit here and act like those slurs weren't wrong back then. They would have affected somebody back then the same way. It's just back then they didn't have the voice that they have now.
And the way culture is shifting, it seems like we're not going to get to a point where people are forgiving ever because it's getting worse and worse.
Absolutely. It is so stupid to me because it's just like, first of all, can we acknowledge that culture has shifted?
Right.
Yeah.
Can we acknowledge that first and foremost? Can we acknowledge what's not acceptable anymore? Used to be the absolute norm back in the day, and a lot of us, man, we're so easily influenced.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of things that I did and I said was just because that's what I grew up around. So that's the language that I learned. But you cannot be afraid to unlearn any of the bullshit that you learned when you were young, especially when it don't serve you anymore.
That's so true. I wasn't really referring to his particular comments. I was just referring to mistakes that we've made in the past. I don't want to be judged over something I did 20 years ago that I need to be in prison for right now. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, it depends what it is too, though.
Well,
you know
the
what I'm
statute
saying?
of limitations, I mean, you're good.
No, not for something.
Yeah, and I feel like some things you're gonna have to have your day of reckoning with.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Whether it's in the judicial system
with
or whether
God.
it's just in life.
Right,
Period. Like it's a lot of things that we probably got away with when we was young that may come back to haunt us in the future. You don't know. You know.
Do you worry about things like that? Like with having daughters and kids?
I worry about things that happened to me when I was young happening to my daughters. You know what I'm saying? I was a kid that got touched on when he was 8 years old.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like I had an older woman touching on me when I was 8. So I got a 10-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 2-month-old. You know what I'm saying?
So that you think that created some of the anxiety, you worrying about them?
100%. Absolutely. Parental paranoia is a whole different
Right.
level of anxiety.
Trust
You
me,
know what I'm
I
saying?
go through that. I have 2 kids as well.
Yeah.
So we play a game called Stand and 8, right? Where we give you 8 rapid questions. Not really questions, multiple choice. You got to choose one.
Okay.
Quick. Ready?
Yeah. TV or radio?
Radio.
Okay.
J-Lo, Lisa Ray.
J-Lo.
South Carolina or New York?
Ooh.
That's a good one.
See, I know you want me to do rapid fire, but see, I got reasoning as to why
ahead.
it would be
Right,
South
right.
Carolina
All
or
right,
New
go
York.
ahead. Go
South
ahead. Express
Carolina is
yourself.
where I was raised. You know what I'm saying? That South Carolina made me the man I am to today. You know what I'm saying? But New York made me the man I am today too, because I've been in New York since 2006. You know, during my career, like my daughter was born here. My other 2 daughters were born in Jersey, so it's just like they both equally home, and I would not be who I am right now without New York, but I wouldn't be who I am without South Carolina either.
So is it safe to say New Carolina?
New Carolina, baby,
Okay.
South York, something. Like I can't choose one.
Jay-Z, Nas.
Hove,
Ali, Mike Tyson.
Ali,
Jordan, LeBron.
Jordan.
90s hip hop, trap music. I'm sorry to give you these hard ones.
That's not as easy as it may sound. Like, it's a part of me that I grew up off 90s hip hop, so I loved all the old Death Row stuff, all the old Goody Mob, Outkast stuff, all the old Wu-Tang, all of that. But yo, trap music, when I think of trap music, I'm thinking of Jeezy, I'm thinking of T.I., I'm thinking of Gucci Mane, I'm thinking of UGK, like, I'm thinking of, you know, Future, I'm thinking of that.
Right.
So, I'll probably still go 90s hip hop though.
Denzel Washington, Will Smith.
As far as what,
Just
pure acting?
Just pick one. Because I know one of your last names is Smith, so.
My last name is Pinkett Smith Winfrey Knowles Carter, but they both are so good for the ecosystem, like even off camera.
Right, and that's what I mean, just in a whole, not just acting.
I'm gonna probably say Will Smith. And the only reason I'm gonna say Will Smith is because Will Smith is, like, we see a lot of Denzel clips now that people share on social media. But Will is actually a part of social media, and he's giving us content. He's giving us constant jewels.
Right.
You know, so I'm gonna have to say Will.
Those are hard ones too. So
That's some good
he's
stuff.
pretty quick.
Can I ask you one last question?
Yes, sir.
Why do you name yourself Charlamagne the God?
Because when I used to sell crack, I used to always say my name was Charles or Charlie. Because I come from a small town, Moncks Corner. At the time when I was growing up, it was like 7,000, 8,000 people. So like a fiend would roll up and see me out there and know that I'm, you know, Larry and Julie's son. So I used to always like keep a hoodie on and like say my name was Charles or Charlie. And then I was in night school and I was reading a history book and it said that Charlamagne was French for Charles the Great. I was like, oh, Charlamagne, that's a dope ass name.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know, and then the God comes from the 5% teachers.
Right.
So it's just like I just put it together, like Charlamagne the God instead of Charles the Great. It was Charlamagne the God, which really don't make no sense because it's Charlamagne is Charles the Great, so it's like Charles the Great the God.
Right.
But I was 17, man. I just smoked mad weed. Like, but it looks good. It looks good on a book.
Do you ever see, you know, America having a big superstar like Mike Tyson that had that type of, you know, grasp on the culture? Everybody knew who he was. I mean, is that possible?
I don't know, because boxing seemed like it was way more popular back then. It
was.
Just boxing as a whole. Because I feel like right now you got, like Deontay Wilder. Why isn't Deontay Wilder a superstar?
Right.
Deontay Wilder, born and bred right there in Alabama. He's hip hop like a motherfucker, you know what I'm saying?
He used to be on your show more often.
Yeah, we did Breakfast Club. He had like 1 million plus views. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Like probably more now. So it's just like Deontay is one of those guys. You know what I'm saying? Like he's exciting to watch when he fights, especially his last couple of fights with Luis Ortiz, Tyson Fury. So I don't know why he's not on that level. You know what I mean? Because I mean honestly, and I'm not taking nothing from Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson was a great fighter, but when you go back and you watch like a lot of Mike Tyson's career, Tyson fought a lot of trash cans to get that reputation that he got.
No, you're right. And then you're a student in the game because that's true and most people won't say it.
Yeah, and then when he started fighting like guys that could box just even a little bit, he was getting handled.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like I went back and I was watching that 30 for 30 with Buster Douglas.
Oh, that was crazy.
I didn't realize, and I remember watching that fight when I was young, but I did
Buster
not.
was whipping his ass.
The whole
fight.
fight.
The whole fight.
Mike couldn't do
I was
nothing
like this.
with
I was
him.
crying.
Nothing with it. It's too much.
I don't even know why. I'm sitting there telling my wife, like, I don't remember this.
Oh, I do.
Like, I remember when Tyson knocked him down. I remember when Tyson got beat. I do not remember round 1 through 9, Buster just beating him up, eyes swollen, and like.
I was a kid and I remember
man,
that.
that was
Before we
sad,
get
man.
out of here, what's the worst advice you ever got in life?
Worst advice I ever got was ignoring. Like somebody be like, ignore something that's so-called negative happening to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, man, I address everything. You know what I'm saying? Like good, bad, and the ugly. So sometimes people think that you can make things just disappear by not speaking on them. That's not how 2018 works, baby.
I did that for years.
You know what I mean? That's not how this thing works. And I mean that not even just with like things that may pop up on you in the news, just like in life. Like we can't keep suppressing things and you know, pushing things down and hiding things from ourselves. There's no such thing as hiding something from yourself. Eventually, it's going to resurface. I don't give a fuck what emotion it is, what feeling it is. It's going to resurface up here in your mind. Just deal with it. You know what I'm saying? That's what therapy was for me, just going to deal with all of the bullshit that I've been suppressing and not even realizing that I had suppressed it. I thought I had got rid of it altogether, but that's not the truth. It's
That's
right
what
there.
suppression does, actually. I suffer from that too sometimes, even to this day. So what's the best advice you've ever been given?
The best advice I ever been given was to read the 4 agreements. read the 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, because like if you live by those 4 principles, you know what I'm saying, you know, the one of them is always do your best. Right. You know, like that was very timely for me when I read it, because I think a lot of times we always strive for perfection, which is an impossible goal. And you know, we all want to be the best, you know what I'm saying? But we may not even be the best, you know what I'm saying? But you can always do your best. You know, so that was a great piece of advice for me.
How does Shook one? How can it help me in any way the way Black Privilege did?
I think because sometimes God lets things happen to you so He can work through you. Yeah. And I feel like a lot of things have happened to me, you know, and I'm able to share my experiences with other people, and I think that my experiences will help other individuals. Like, it's just, I'm the guy that's out here letting everybody know it's okay to get help. Right. You know what I'm saying? It's okay to not be okay up here. Like, when you start getting a little chunky around the middle, you start cutting the carbs, you go hit the gym.
Some of us, I don't know. Some of us.
Yeah, this guy's genetically blessed, and he, you know.
You do the treadmill, like, yo, your mental state works the same exact way. You know what I mean? Work it out. So why not go get that help? Go sit down and talk to a therapist. Go sit down and talk to a psychiatrist. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got friends that have anxiety that's crippling. Like, they can't even leave the house. Wow. So you need to be on some type of medication. Like, yo, there's nothing wrong with going to get help. You know what I'm saying? So, like, that's my best piece of advice I guess I've ever received, is just to deal with whatever you're dealing with. Deal with it.
On that note,
thank you, Charlamagne.
My brother,
thank
love,
you, man.
thank
It's a pleasure and an honor.
Appreciate y'all. Thank you, man.
This was therapy.
Good chat.
Yeah, this was therapy.
Absolutely.
And you know, one of the things that I appreciate about you is, you know, some of the guys like Tax and even the other kid from that was on Revolt, Lawrence something. You always push it. Like, there's never been no negative spew to anybody that's kind of in your realm or what you're doing. Why are you so supportive of people doing this same thing?
Because I feel like, you know, at the end of the day, my true purpose on this planet is service to others. Right. And I'm really the guy that, if I was a basketball player, I would lead the league in assists. I'd rather throw assists than score points. Because to me, that's how you live forever, man. Right. Like, eventually, you know, God bless, I have a legacy with radio and TV and everything, and people will know me for that. But we look at Jay and we think about everything that Jay gave the world. Like, Jay gave us Kanye and J. Cole and Neo and Rihanna. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, all of these different things. And it's like, for me, I want to be the same way. Like, I want people to look at me and be like, yo, he put a lot of people in position. You know what I'm saying? He empowered a lot of people. Like, for me, that's honestly how you live forever. That's what real legacy is.
Is there anybody out there doing radio or something similar that you, young dude, that you're saying, this dude got talent, he's going somewhere?
Yeah, like my little homie, Nyla Simone. You know what I'm saying? Nyla's like 22, 23 years old.
Where's he doing?
It's a girl. It's a woman.
Oh, it's a girl?
Yeah, she's a DJ. Like a
DJ.
You know what I mean? Like, I can look at her, and I told her this the other day, like, because she was like, you know, thank you for everything. You know, I'm like, no, thank yourself. Right. Because you work hard. Right. And when you're a radio personality who's been in the game as long as I've been in the game, we can look at somebody like her. Anybody that's successful in radio can look at her and say, she got it.
Right, right.
You know what I'm saying? So if you know somebody got it, help them get it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If you know somebody got it, help them get it. Like, I feel like I want to be the adult that I didn't have when I was growing up. You know what I'm saying? And mad people helped me on the way. Like, just help me navigate my way through life. So it's just like, why wouldn't I return that favor?
It's true what you said earlier when I asked you about Wendy, because when I think about, you know, this journey, just me doing boxing on TV and things of that nature, when I think about one person, I'm like, wait a minute, but this dude did this, she did that, she did that. There's so many people along the way
to help you. You can't be indebted to everyone.
Yeah, you can't. Nah. You know, but you can acknowledge it. You know, you can say, I appreciate it, like you said, being appreciative. But if you start thanking everybody, you'll never be done. But I acknowledge it. You know, I try to.
What you said is real. Acknowledge it. And, yo, the only thing you owe me is go out there and be great. Right. Don't make me look right.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I co-sign you and look how great you are.
Make me look right. I told y'all that motherfucker was a star. Like, that's it. To be honest with you, that's all I care about. I'm good with that. I'm good with saying I told y'all.
And that's what we kind of try to do in boxing with young fighters coming up. Like, yo, this dude got talent. And even though you know, we just talk to the big names. I embrace the young fighters, like, because I tell Barak, yo, this dude, he's going to pop. He next.
The young
I'm not going
fighters
to
turn into the next Mayweathers, the next Deontay, the next
and
Anthony
if you acknowledge the talent, like, it's good to let them know, like, you're going to be great. You know what I'm saying? Maybe all the media ain't on you right now, the cameras ain't on you. They will be eventually, you know what I mean?
But, you know, we got a lot of people that look up to us in this game, you know, trying to do exactly what we're doing, which I'm sure you do too. But there's a fine line between trying to help somebody, you know, trying to be that light in their light that you've received from other people, Wendy Williams or whoever, and somebody's just trying to use you.
Right, yeah.
Well, if you can't be used, you're useless.
Useless, yes.
I thought I made that up.
Yeah, no. Your first time I heard
made that up.
was Fabulous said it on Star and Buck Wild like 15 years ago on the radio. I heard him say that.
Can't be used by everybody.
I mean, I'm not sure. I'm not saying he made it up, but that's the first time I've heard it.
I swear I thought I said that to my mother one time. She said, yo, you always want me to watch your kids. I was like, well, if you can't be used, you're useless.
That's right. Just don't let people misuse you.
Right.
You know?
Yeah,
That's
but
the
how
line
do you,
I'm
how do
talking
you
about.
do that? How do you know the difference?
Honestly, I don't think that's for us to navigate. And what I mean by that is, like, God is never going to bless you based off how people receive your blessings. He's going to bless you based off
what you do,
the blessing you
You've
gave
given
out.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And plus, I don't do things expecting any type of return.
I got
Good
you.
or bad.
I got you.
You know what I'm saying?
But there's a purpose that God has for you, and everybody that comes to you is not part of that purpose, is what I'm trying to say. Because I help a lot of people, but there's times when he knows. There's times I got to say to myself, all right, maybe this person, I don't have time to do. Maybe I shouldn't be a part of whatever they're trying to do.
You're right. I try to remain open only because, like, for as many people as I've helped, and it's worked, I've helped a lot of people who shitted on me.
Right.
But I can't let those 1, 2, 3 people, you know, stop me from being a vessel.
Right. Oh, no,
You
it's
know what
not
I'm
about
saying?
that. Who cares?
All right, so we need your help to get on your IG. We need a post with our tag. You know what I'm saying?
that was a
Let's
setup?
get a little post. No, that
That's
wasn't a
easy.
setup, but
Appreciate
it'll
you,
be
bro.
good to
I got
get
you,
some
bro.
of that.
Oh,